And it looks like I'm sharing our YouTube screen right now. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, good morning again. Now that we're recording, it is Friday, June 6th, and this is the Tillicum Middle School Principal Chat. It's the end of the year, and this is something that we do kind of regularly, and we have done it in this last year as a hybrid event. We have lots of people that are joining online. It looks like we've probably got about 20 people online. I've got about another 10 or 15 here in this space. So you have to be a little bit gracious with me as we're managing both things, but I'm really glad that you are all here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen once again so that we're able to come. Oops, looks like my PowerPoint is no longer up. Oh, there we are. So let's get this screen shared. Switch over here. So that's sharing over there, which means that we now need to turn this on. Perfect. Tillicum Middle School Principal Chat. Keep admitting all of our people. And let me move to this next slide. So the purpose of these chats, we do these once every 6 or 8 weeks or so, and the purpose is to build relationship. For myself as a leader, I'm all about relationships. It's actually, I believe, the most important thing on the planet. It's why I'm in public education. I just love people, whether it is kindergartners or whether it is 80-year-old grandparents. Just being able to be in relationship with people, hear their stories, and in some small way be able to like interact and move them forward is kind of what drives me. Specific to these principal chats, however, there's kind of twofold purposes. One, to increase the parent knowledge that you have of your child's middle school experience, but then two, to increase my knowledge of your experience, because when I hear from parents, it helps me as I'm interacting with my staff, designing professional development, and other things along those lines. And so we have kind of a couple of different purposes there in our chat. Today, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about how we're going to end the year for those of you that currently have kids here. And we're also going to look ahead to the 25-26 school year, because I imagine that many of you that are here today probably have a current fifth grader. Is that correct? Raise your hand if your child is currently a fifth grader. So that's most people here. It's also most people that are probably online. And we did this very intentionally, really wanting to make sure that this opportunity, as your fifth graders are rising to middle school, that we're able to answer some of your questions. Have you come into the building or just feel a little bit more comfortable with what your children are about to do? And we really want to partner with y'all. We call these principals and PTA chats. And I've got Kylie Baker, who is our PTA president. You're going to hear from her shortly. And it really is an important partnership. So with that being said, we're going to get into one of the first parts, which I do think is important, is the introductions. And not only of myself, but also a little bit of those that are here and those of you who are online. So again, my name is Dusty Steer. I am privileged to serve as the principal here at Tillicum Middle School. This is my second year here at Tillicum, but it's actually my 40th year in Bellevue School District. And part of that is because I actually went to Bellevue schools when I was a kid. I moved to Bellevue when I was 6 years old, and I attended Wilburton Elementary School the first time it was open. And then they closed it in the late 70s because Boeing left. And so then I went to Woodridge Elementary, and then went on to Chinook Middle School and to Bellevue High School. Graduated Bellevue High School and went to the University of Washington, met my wife. We went and lived overseas for a few years in Korea, and then we came back to Seattle. I worked as a teacher in Tacoma, teaching middle school math, and then actually came back and taught math at my alma mater, Bellevue High School. I did that for about 12 years before I then got into being an administrator. And I've worked at the high school as an assistant principal, middle school as assistant principal. I was an elementary principal at Cherry Crest for 8 years, and now I've spent the last 2 years here. And I love every single age group, and I love the different parts of being a principal. And as I said, what I love the most is just people. whether they're young, old, anything in between. I love hearing stories and I love getting to know about individuals. Miss Stephanie Chen is currently our assistant principal. Next year, we'll actually have a new assistant principal named Renee Barut Del Fierro. And Stephanie will remain here in the school district. She'll actually be teaching. And as part of our contraction, unfortunately, we lost some of our interim and elementary assistant principals. But thankfully, she's going to be preserved as a teacher. She's an excellent teacher and will actually be at Jingmei Elementary School. And so that's pretty exciting. As I shared, like this shows Simon Sinek's kind of like central idea of like what it matters to people. And very often we focus on the what we're doing and then how we're doing, and we often don't get to the why. But really strong organizations are ones that actually are able to elevate. They know why they're doing what they're doing, which allows the how and the what to be clearer. And so as I told you, my why is about relationship, really knowing people, because every single human on the planet wants to be known, wants to be loved, wants to be in relationship. And certainly here at school with young people, especially in ages 12 to 14, they don't know which way is up. And one day they're going to love you, the next day they're going to hate you. And some of you have already probably begun to see that, right? And so middle school is such a fun time just to love on kids, regardless of what jerks they might be to us. And I joke with kids frequently. They don't think it's a joke, but it's like, I really apologize that I and your parents for about the next 8 years are just going to be idiots, right? From age 13 to 20, 21, your parents become really stupid because they know everything. And all of a sudden at around age 20, 21, they start to go, thanks, mom and dad. Finally, you're getting it again. You're smart. You got it figured out. Right? That's really our way of recognizing that these kids' brains are not fully developed, but they think they are. So it's a fun time. So that's a little bit about me. I do have 3 children of my own. I've got a college senior, a daughter who's a freshman at the University of Washington, and then my youngest son is a freshman at Sammamish High School. And so I've kind of walked parts of the pieces of being an adult, of a parent of adolescence. And I very much understand the place that parents are in. And I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of kids as well and get to work with them each and every day. And it's a joy. I'm going to now ask you maybe do a little bit of the same. So as I said, relationships are the most important thing on the planet. And so I would like you to take a moment to introduce yourself to someone that's around you, or if you're online, to introduce yourself in the chat. And you could do this by just saying, hey, what's your name? Who's your child? Are they currently at an elementary school? Are they currently here at Tillicum? Just share their name, age, and grade, and get to know each other. So take a couple minutes, do that with the people around you if you're here in person. And if you're online, go ahead and drop that into the chat. And I'd love to say hello to everyone. Take a moment and introduce yourself to the people. Hey, good morning, Tam. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Mark is a 5th grader at Spirit Ridge. You'll be joining us. Wonderful. Okay. And good morning, Carol. Let's see, Winston Russell's mom, currently at Bennett. So glad to have you here this morning. Good morning. Lucas is your son, 5th grader at Cuesta. Okay. All right. Welcome. Good morning, Melissa. Glad you're here as well. Trip is going to be joining from Cuesta. Fantastic. All right. Hello, Melody. You've got Scarlett, who's coming from Jingmei. Ni hao. All right. Good morning, Mr. Hall. Nice to have you here. Prashant. Morning, Prashant. All right. Hello, Anthony, father of Aiden at the French American School. Bonjour. Bienvenue. Right, hello Dana with a 5th grader, Emma from Puesta. Jung, good morning. Right. Right, hello Eugene with Elodie coming from Capitol Hill outside of Bellevue. Well, happy to have you. Hello Oliesa with Anna at Spirit Ridge. Mayumi, good morning. Yvonne, welcome. And Yuko and Dorothy. Wow, this is fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna come back over here. Welcome. All right. Fantastic. All right, well, friends, thank you for introducing those. I love to hear the chatter and things like that. When I walk into classrooms, I love to hear when kids are talking with one another. And sometimes a teacher will like say, "Oh, I felt so bad. The class was kind of rowdy today." And you know, rowdy isn't always bad because we actually want classrooms that are full of chatter. And so what you are doing right now, the amount of learning that you just did from one another is probably far greater at times than what you get from just listening to the teacher, the sage on the stage. And so it's just, I love hearing that. I love to learn. And as teachers, we often try to elevate the knowledge and the stories that kids have as they come in so that they feel a sense of belonging, they feel agency and things like that. As we get into next year, at usually our beginning principal chat, we'll talk a little bit more about some of our goals and our vision, mission as a school and how it aligns with our district strategic plan. I'm not really doing that today. I kind of want to just be able to talk about some of the things that are happening at the end of the year and then answer some questions that in particular our rising 6th grade families have. We'll also hopefully have some time at the end just for some Q&A. So, but I love hearing everything that's going on. And now what I always like to do is provide just a little bit of time. Let me move over here, advance to the next slide. As I said, these are our Tillicum and principal PTA chats. And so a really important part of being in community is recognizing that
Yeah, we cannot hear you. This is Theo. I think you're on mute.
The mute icon is active, so I think that it's Teams. It's the Teams.
Hey, Dusty, I think you're still on mute.
A strong one. So speaking of, on Monday, we'll have our last general membership meeting. Well, we're going to vote in our members for next year. Currently, we are looking for a treasurer and a VP of membership. Treasurer is a pretty important position, so if anybody's interested and knows anybody, feel free to reach out to me personally as president at tillicumpta.org. Don't worry, you're not going to do it by yourself. Our current treasurer is ready to help transition you. We also have a lot of PTA members that have done it in the past that has a lot of knowledge, and I'm always emailing them, asking them questions about things. So yeah, our group is pretty relaxed. My motto is less stress for all. So we are a team and we work together. If you need help, ask us because we are here to help. We just want to make sure our kids have a fun time. And middle school is a lot different from elementary school, just to warn you, like most kids just want us not to be around. So we kind of do things on the back end. ASB, which is the Associated Student Body, does a lot of dances and events throughout the year. So that we don't really put that on. We just support with volunteers or whatever the school needs. So we have things like during October in the past, we've had like a social for like a black and orange social to celebrate Halloween, not really, but like that season for kids to just come here and hang out. We have fundraisers throughout the year. So it's a team effort. If you're wanting to join, we would love to have you. Feel free to talk to me. Todd is here. He is our VP of Communications. We have, who else is here on the board? I think people today. But anyways, feel free to come ask me questions about PTA after if you have any. Real quick, some events coming up. So like I said, on Monday is our last general membership meeting. It's going to be in the library upstairs. If you've never been here, it's those big picture windows. That's where the school library is. You just go up the stairs and it's right over there. It's from 6:30 to 8. We will be voting in our new members. Hopefully we'll have everybody filled by then. If you're an incoming 5th grade or 6th grade parent, you are also welcome to be a member. As a 6th grade parent, I joined just to meet people. It's a great opportunity to get to know the school, get to know the way things work. So I just kind of jumped right in, and as a team, they kind of, helped me. Yes. So Monday is June 9th, and it's at 6:30 to 8. You're welcome to come to join us and see how things work. We're going to vote on next year's budget as well, and then update everyone on all kinds of events that's happening for the remaining year and things that are tentatively happening for next fall and previous year, or sorry, following year.
Question, Megan?
Yes.
Comment?
Yes. So we don't have childcare per se, but they can hang out there. If we need childcare, I can bring my 6th grader and she can hang out with them and watch them. But typically, we don't have a lot of kids, but if it's available, it's fine. Okay, so next week is our 8th grade party. It's on Thursday, June 12th. As a reminder, it's free for all 8th grade students, so there's no sign up necessary. They just come. We have people to check them in. And it'll be a fun night where my husband will be DJing. There's going to be dancing here. We have awesome food, activities in the gym. That event has been coordinating by 8th grade parents. And so shout out to all y'all that you're doing a great job. Takes a load off of me, even though I have an 8th grader. It's been hard to kind of manage to help that. So I appreciate that. We're still taking donations. So if you have any donations, reach out to Magdalene Teo. And yeah, thanks for signing up. We still need some help. So take a look in our Tiger Tales newsletter. We have a Tiger Tales newsletter for PTA that comes out every Sunday. Todd does a great job having it send out. It has all the information that we have on our website and some new things that happens around our community and our school and PTA. Let's see. 8th grade parents, if you have submissions for slideshow, today is the deadline, so please get it in so Kara can finish that off and we can be ready to go next week. Let's see. Okay, final meeting next week. For our final meeting, there's also a virtual link option. So we're gonna have it online and in person if you can't make it.
So for families that are new and want to be part of the Tiger Tales communication, what's the best way for a parent to get subscribed to that mailing list?
So you can actually go to our website. It's tillicumpta.org. And there is a button on the left-hand panel that'll say subscribe, I believe, or there's newsletters. And you can click on that and easy registration process.
Yeah. Okay.
If you don't worry. At the beginning of the fall, all incoming students will be on the list, and you're welcome to take yourself off the mailing list after that.
Right.
Let's see. Okay. The last thing I think that we have on tap is our Paint the Path fundraiser. I have Elena here today. She is well versed on everything happening. So if you could come and share, you'll be better at doing that than I am, so I won't miss anything.
Right, get in here.
All
Say,
right.
there's Elena.
Hi, my name is Elena Ferguson. I have an 8th grader here, and I've been I volunteered myself to be one of the chairs on Paint the Path. It is kind of a combination event of our end of year fundraiser, as well as on the 20th of June, all the students are invited to go out to the track and have a really fun event where they will get the option to be colorful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So which one should I speak about first? The one on the 20th or the fundraiser? Oh, we got
Give us some info first about the fundraiser.
Sure. Is that shared online too?
Yeah, so
Awesome.
they can see that right there.
Awesome. Okay, so we are currently in the middle of a fundraiser. How many who are current parents here are aware that we have a fundraiser going right now? Woo, yeah. Okay. And why are we doing this fundraiser? There's about a $15,000 shortfall this year in terms of our budget, right? So we are trying to make up that gap, which also feeds into next year. It helps with things like the 8th grade graduation. It helps with funding the music program, like things that they want to do, the field trips, like the music in the parks, teacher grants. What else am I missing?
6th grade camp.
6th grade. Oh my gosh, yeah, 6th grade camp, library. So it hits a lot of places. Even if you're not a parent, you are more than welcome to volunteer, and it will come back to your kids next year. Currently, we're at about 22%. We're going to hit the ground more running next week. Todd is one of my committee members, I would say, on here, and we're going to start marketing even more. We hope to make it to 100% by June 20th, which is the last Friday of the school year, as you all know. Again, all students are invited out to the track. We're going to be doing those colored chalks, and they have the option to go on the track. We're going to have beach balls where they can have a lot of fun bouncing them around. The option of getting colored. If they don't want to get colored, then there's options to be in the library or hang out with your friends, kind of thing. And it's just a way to end the year with a really fun fundraiser. Am I missing anything, guys? No. Oh, and we could use a lot of help on that. Again, some of these links are come, help, support. If you're going to be here in person, just make sure that your BSD cleared background check.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you, Elena. I just want to invite families, as Kylie had said. Do you have more, Kylie?
I think that's
okay. As Kylie said, middle school kids often don't want their parents around, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be around. And so I really want to invite you to be involved. And there's going to be a number of ways to do that. One of them are these large PTA events like this one, Paint the Path. It's going to be super fun. You're just going to get to see kids in their element, just being silly, having fun. You're going to be in relationship with other parents. You're going to get to see not only your child, but other children. And finding ways in middle school to be present sometimes is a little harder because, one, your kids don't want you, but it is important. And so next year we'll have opportunities to volunteer, perhaps at Friday during lunch as part of our Tiger Club when we're giving out popcorn and we're doing things here in the cafe, some of our social events. And there are some opportunities even in the classrooms, although it's more limited than it is in elementary. But get involved in PTA, come give back, because not only does it benefit you, benefits your child, and it benefits all of the whole the student body. So it's wonderful. So again, appreciate all of the information that is being shared. I want to now talk a little bit more just about the end of the year, and I want to make a couple of points for especially new parents. Where do you get information? Because information is key, and we live in an information age, and there's almost too much information. So we had talked a little bit about the Tillicum PTA, tillicumpta.org. tillicumpta.org, that's how you go learn and see what's happening in the PTA. On the school side of things, bsd405.org is your one-stop shop for everything Bellevue School District. If you add /Tillicum, it takes you specifically to our website. And I just want to highlight, this is a place that you should go kind of frequently. And I'm going to highlight a couple of things. So let me zoom in on this. I think online you should still be able to do this. When you first come to our school website, you'll notice sometimes we get a page pop. And that kind of shows up, and sometimes it's annoying. And if you come here frequently, you can always X out of this page pop right here. But this just has end of school information. And so talking about what we have at the end of the year. But what is valuable is always to come over here where we have news and events. Because the way that I kind of work my system is that every Monday I send out a parent newsletter. For those of you who are here, we're going to be ending second period in just a moment, and kids will start, you'll see kind of a little bit of a passing period. So it may get a little crazy here in a minute or two. But here is where you can see some of our important parts. And so we have the end of year wrap up. We have information about the 8th grade promotion ceremony. I did just put the school supply list. But then every Monday, we have what's called the Tillicum Times Parent News. This always comes out on Mondays, usually about 4 p.m. And I'll usually send a email and a text reminder, say it's now up there. But this is the place to come and see what's been happening. And you can see that we had one on the 2nd, the 27th, and it just kind of goes back. So you can go check all of that out. I think this is really valuable as we think about the end of the school year. And so if you have a current child right now, you would be able to come and see, like, what are all the important things happening? Overdue school books, yearbooks being on sale. Here's your last chance to buy a yearbook. The 8th grade party that she just mentioned. When students are turning in their laptops. Information about the 8th grade promotion ceremony. Yearbook distribution. No school on Juneteenth. And then we come back to school after that. All right. And what's happening the last couple of days. So a lot of kind of important information. If you have a current child here, you're going to want to kind of keep track of all of that. But our school website is a one-stop shop for a lot of important information. And so really want to encourage you to make sure that you are checking out our school website in order to find important information. As we think about, and so that really highlights the end of the year. I do want to, like, again, underscore, paint the path, come, volunteer. It's going to be super fun. And we're going to be outside from about 2 o'clock onwards. If you and your child want to stay later until, like, 3 o'clock, even 4, we'll have some food, we'll have music. It's going to be fun. So that's going to be on Friday, June 20th. Yep. So 2 weeks from today. Yep. Sure. Come. It's going to start officially at 2 p.m. and it'll kind of go all the way till about 4 p.m. Yeah. So community event. It should be fun. So we talked about paint the path. What I'd like to do right now is kind of shift a little bit, especially for those of you who have rising 6th graders, to talk about the first days of school and then to get into some of your questions, right? Some of you all submitted questions, and so we'll ask those, answer those in advance, and then we'll take any of yours. Okay, first days of school. We did just put up on our website the school supply list. That was one of those links. You will take note that on our website, the school supply list kind of shows what we are asking families in general to provide. And I had some staff members that hyperlinked these to relatively cost-effective, like Amazon links. But you can also download the whole thing. And so it gives you an idea of just some things that we in general would like students to come to school with. For some of our classes, there's some specific information. If you're in algebra, or if you happen to be in a music class. And so that gives a general idea of school supplies. Question? So yeah, this year, every 6th grade student was provided with a binder. And it was like, hey, we're just going to provide it on the front end. We asked families to make, I think, a $25 or $30 donation. It got a little bit crazy. And there were some families that said, well, we want to do kind of our own thing. So we're not doing 6th grade provided ones. we're asking families to say, here's the suggestions. You can choose your own colors. You can kind of choose what you want. No child will go without. Even if children do not come with, suggested school supplies, we're able to provide some of that as well. So those of you who are here, you can start to see the movement of this middle school creatures as they're moving from PE to music to their math classes. Yes, so it's a good look. All right. Over the summer, our main office will close by and large. Our office manager, Suzanne Murphy, and I, we're kind of back here in the building the 1st of August, but we open to the public on the 18th. Jubilee Service Day is a volunteer opportunity. If families want to come help teachers set up for the school year, you can actually sign up to be part of Jubilee Service Day and do some volunteering. That'll be on the 23rd. On Thursday, the 28th of June, we're going to have a welcome walkthrough. The idea is that any families and their kids can come to school that evening at 6 p.m. We will have information on how to look up in Synergy your child's schedule and locker number, or we'll have some paper copies, right? You can do a self-guided tour, start to walk around and see, like, where's the first floor? Where's the second floor? Where is my locker? How do I open it? That ends up being a 6th grader's biggest fear. And yet they all figure it out. But anything we can do on the front end to help alleviate that stress and anxiety, we want to do. So we'll be here on the 28th to kind of help welcome and support. Yes, Todd. Yeah. Okay. You bet. So we're going back to the end of the year. We're right here, and let's just do this. Yep. Okay. Question about end of the year. Was there something? Oh, sorry. End of year wrap up. Come on, baby. Oh, come on. I don't know how to move this out of the way. There we are. End of year wrap up. So yeah, Todd, what was your question on? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is, I believe, where do we have that one? So Todd is asking about just the dates that we have, news and events. So grading practice. Well, let's see. Was it not here in end of year wrap up? Okay. I'll be definitely sending this additional information out and make sure that that's in each Monday's event. Again, for this is the one. Gotcha. My bad. Okay. So we've got the Tillicum welcome walkthrough on the 28th. There's no school on Monday, the 1st of September, and the first day of school is on Tuesday. We do something kind of unique on the first day of school. It's basically called WEB on the first day. WEB stands for Where Everyone Belongs, and it is a orientation program for 6th grade students. We just elected a bunch of 8th grade WEB leaders. They're current 7th graders, but they're going to be 8th graders next year, and they are WEB leaders who are going to adopt a group of about 10 6th graders. And usually one male and female WEB leader end up supporting kids not only at the beginning of school, but then weekly and monthly through the school year. And the WEB leaders are able to advise and mentor and help provide support. First day of school, we have WEB orientation for all 6th graders. And it goes from about 7:45 in the morning when school starts until about lunchtime. And they do a bunch of activities and they get to know each other. They learn who their WEB leaders are. They do school tours. They practice their lockers. They just get oriented and meet one another as well as their WEB leader. While that's happening, our 7th and 8th graders who are not WEB leaders, they go through a couple of welcome rotations. Make sure they get their computer up and running again. We do some outdoor activities. This coming year, we're going to get every single kid a white Tillicum t-shirt, and they're going to tie-dye it on that first day. Sixth graders will also get to tie-dye it as well, but it'll be a couple weeks later. So there's going to be some fun things that we do. Then after everyone eats lunch in the afternoon, they go to each of their classes, periods 1 through 7, but only for about 10 minutes. So they got to navigate, figure out where first period is. Hi, nice to meet you, Mr. Colleran. Okay, now let's go to second period. Oh, this is my English class. And so the first day is a little bit of we call it a soft start before we get to Wednesday, which will be all 7 of their classes, and they begin to get to know their teachers in more depth. They begin towards the end of the week, perhaps to even get into some academic content. That's kind of how the first day of school works with the web orientation. Again, I'll send all sorts of information to families and be able to have references for y'all. We'll do a PTA ice cream social on Thursday, the 11th. That'll be about a week and a half into school. And then 1 week after that, we will have our curriculum night. And that is where all the families are invited to come here about 6 p.m. You'll hear from me briefly, from Bellevue Schools Foundation, some other stuff. And then you get to walk your child's schedule. Similar type of deal, basically about 10 minutes. All right. And by the end of the night at 8 p.m., you'll be pretty tired. Some of you will be tardy. Some of you might even start skipping classes. And so you start to see what your kids are experiencing. So that's what's happening on the first days of school. I'm going to pause for a moment before I get into some of your all questions, just to see if there's any questions that you all have about the first days, our calendar. And I'm going to move over here also to our chat just to see if there's any questions. All right. I do have a question. Someone has conflicting information. When's the last day of school? Last day of school is Tuesday, June 24th. It's only a 2-hour day. It's kind of weird why we do it that way. But the last day of school kept getting moved out because of windstorms and snowstorms and things like that. So Tuesday, the 24th is the last day of school, just 2 hours. We come, kids are going to go to first period, then we're going to go to the gym. We're going to have a staff versus student basketball game. We're going to do some other ASB stuff, and we're going to go out on the field and have a popsicle, and it's going to be fun, sign some yearbooks, and then go home. All right? So that's our last day of school. Any other questions about the end of the school year or even the start of the school year? All right. If someone's missing the last 2 days of school, do we still need to submit a notice of absence? In a perfect world, the technical answer is yes. You should be submitting absences if you know your child's going to be gone, especially for more than a day. But you know what? If we don't get that, your child will still get promoted to the next grade, and they'll probably still be successful as students in college. So, but the technical answer is, yeah, we're supposed to follow that. But we also recognize that after about the 20th, we're going to do paint the path on the 20th. There's not going to be a massive amount of significant learning happening. It'll mostly be fun and community. So, all right, again, you can asking questions in the chat. I'll come back to them. But I did want to get to some of the questions that were submitted to me in our online link. And so I'll give precedence to those, and then we'll take just your random questions. It's about 9:40 right now. This will be about 20 minutes. We'll probably stop about 10 o'clock this morning because I think I have a meeting after this. Okay, so one of the questions is, when do sixth graders find out their schedule, right? Here's how that works. Right now, I'm constructing the master schedule. At a secondary school, middle school and high school, it's incredibly complex. 7 periods, 700 kids, 49,000 different iterations of places where kids need to go. It's complicated. We will continue to work on that master schedule as kids enroll and withdraw into about mid-August. That's when we lock the schedule, and then any changes after that have to be hand scheduled by our counselors. About mid-August, I'll send a message that says our schedule is locked. Please go to Synergy, Parent View or Student View, and you can see your child's draft schedule. It'll still be draft because some kids may even have a hole in their schedule. What? I don't have a 4th period class, because we need to hand schedule. And so you can take a look and get an idea, by and large, like where your kids will be. Counselors will continue to fill holes all the way up until the first day of school. On the welcome walkthrough that night on Thursday of the 28th, you can have both a paper copy, you can look on your phone, and you can in general walk what for most of your students will be their final schedule. On the first day of school, however, we will give every child a paper copy of their schedule, just because we want them to know, here's the final one. We've been working furiously and we think this is the final schedule. There'll still be some kids that don't like their schedule or want to come talk or complain, and we'll listen. Generally, we won't make a schedule change unless we made a big mistake. But if they're like, oh, I want to be in a different lunch because all my friends are over there, say, sorry, we aren't able to accommodate, and this is a great opportunity to meet some new people. So that's questions about kind of when kids get their schedules. I had a question, what's the typical class workload for sixth graders? Will they need to dedicate more than an hour an evening to homework? Here's a general rule of thumb that I've heard ever since I was a kindergarten principal as well. It's like we typically will say about 10 minutes of homework per grade level that your child is in. If you're a fourth grader, child shouldn't be spending more than about 40 minutes per night doing homework. A lot of research that talks about value of homework. And a lot of the common research basically says that homework does not have a strong correlation to success later on. And sometimes homework ends up exacerbating marginalization that we have with some of our students that we want to really help move forward. But in general, your sixth grader, if they're doing what they shouldn't have more than about 60 minutes a night, all right? Here's what you can kind of expect. You've got your core content classes. Every kid is going to have math, English, social studies, and science. Those are your 4 content areas. Many students will choose a world language. Here at Tillicum, we have the Mandarin Dual Language Program in Chinese. We have the ISA, International Spanish Academy, in Spanish. Yeah, we also offer Spanish and French and Chinese classes. Large proportion of kids take some world language. A really large proportion of students are also in a music class. We have an outstanding choir, orchestra. We've been having our spring concerts this week, and it's amazing what these kids can produce. If any of you remember 4th grade and the recorders, they make so much progress. I mean, that is like truly like a 4th grade music teacher. There should be a special place in heaven for them because it's amazing. Yeah, preach. And then every kid will also have PE and perhaps some elective courses. The places where your child will likely be spending time doing homework may be in their math class. There's just that they should be doing. In order to learn math, you need to do math. Most of the math can be done in class, and if your child is kind of like staying engaged, doing their Desmos, doing the notes packets, things like that, they may have 0 math homework. But you can expect that they should have something, and you can look in their OneNote, you can look on their Desmos and see their practice. In English language arts, much of the reading of the novels actually happens collectively in class. And very rarely your child come home and say, oh, I have to read 80 pages of Code Talker. That has been done in class. Now, if they're spacing out or things like that, they'll have a book. There's online YouTube read alouds. And then occasionally they'll be doing some writing projects. But by and large, 6th grade language arts, you shouldn't see lots of homework coming home. But you can and should ask your child, what have you been learning? Let's look at your OneNote. What have you been doing in class? Social studies is somewhat similar. They have some projects, but by and large, most of the learning happens in the classroom. And there's discussions, there's projects, there's products that they create. Science we use the Amplify online curriculum. They take some notes packets and things like that. You should be able to ask your child, show me your notes from science. Let's look at your OneNote because there are things that they're doing in class. But again, organized kids, it could be very common for a kid if they're doing well in their grades and they say, I don't have any homework. That's true. That's fair. we're not sending a lot of homework home. If in music class, there is an expectation that there's a weekly practice log, and they would probably say, most music teachers will say that it's somewhere between 60 minutes and 120 minutes. So they should be practicing their instrument probably 15, 20 minutes a day. You don't want them to try to do all their practice on Sunday night, because it's just not effective if you try to play the trumpet for 90 minutes and it's like, yeah. So daily practice is really helpful. Questions about workload or anything with that so far? I'll quickly look at our chat here. Okay, I see there's a question about phone policy. I'm going to get that in just a moment. Class assignments, and that's going to come in mid-August. All right. Just kind of an interesting question, and so I'll just answer it briefly. When will the International Spanish Academy classes be determined? And when will waitlist members know a yes or no? So as I told you, we have both Mandarin dual language coming from Jingmei and International Spanish Academy largely coming from Puesta. And yeah, bienvenidos. All right. Any children that are currently in those programs naturally matriculate. And so I know that right now I've got my classes kind of set for those two. Classes, typically class sizes, you want class sizes in middle school between 26 and maybe mid 30s. Class sizes will be a little bit bigger next year. Part of that is because of the budget challenges that we're in. But when I determine if I can let new families and new students into our program, it depends on how many courses I'm on. So that next year, I think in my ISA Spanish classes, I'm running 2 classes. I think I have about 58 or 59 kids coming in, right? So I've established 2 classes. So one class has about 30 kids, the other has about 29. There might be some current 5th graders on the wait list. Maybe they just moved in, or maybe they've been part of a Spanish immersion class in another school. And when they're on the wait list, I will then communicate with student services and say, we're relatively full right now with 30 and 29. That's pretty big. I might say I could take 1 or 2 kids, right? If you are a family that's on the wait list, it does go numerically. We say who's first, who's second, who's third. And it will be student services that communicates with the family that says, Tillicum has a space for your child. Would you like to come? And they may say, actually, we're not going to come now because we're registered to go to Tyee and we think everything's fine there. All right. So that's a little bit of how the wait list part works, specific to Mandarin dual language and to ISA. Yep.
You only have gates.
Yep.
So that means, going to their home middle school. I mean, they did, immersion for all of elementary and they're gone.
Yep.
Do you also bring in some of those dual language Spanish kids to fill spots? Is that spots that are being filled? Because to be in Puesta, if you don't enter in kindergarten, you're never going to get in because you have to take the Spanish test.
Yep.
To prove that you can actually keep up with information. So even if you have waitlist members, how do you qualify them?
Yeah. So the question is about when new families come into Chinese or into Spanish, how do we ensure that the student is maybe have a proficiency level? And we do have, there is an assessment and there's a stamp test that we provide to students to check their proficiency level. We do also, if a child has been at Sherwood Forest in the dual language program, we will also, we bring them over as well. And so we now, and actually Puesta is even considered now just dual language. It's part of our overall dual language program. But you do bring up the point that as kids move from these immersion and dual language programs, some of them choose to go to the middle school of their home school. And it's also very common for some students to qualify for advanced learning services. And then they perhaps have a choice. Do I want to keep doing immersion Spanish at Tillicum, or do I want to access advanced learning services, which happens at Odell or at Tyee? So sometimes we do lose a proportion of our students. And that will often happen. That happens within our Mandarin dual language as well. So. Yeah. Yeah, so when students choose to continue in a immersion program and they qualify for advanced learning services, we do provide domain-specific services for them in math with acceleration, within language arts with some differentiation. We don't replicate the self-contained program at Odell or Tyee, but we do have ways to still support them at commensurate but not equal level. So, and quite a few parents do struggle with that. Oh, what do I want to do? So, really good questions. All right. There were questions from a couple of parents about cell phones. And so I did want to point out to you that we have a Tillicum student handbook. And I think it's great, actually. If I come over here, I'm once again going to highlight our website, because if you want to know what's going on, our Tillicum website here has a hamburger in the upper right-hand corner. It's 3 lines, but I call it the hamburger menu. When you go to the hamburger menu, you can find out all sorts of stuff about our school, academics, student life, things like that. Under student life, we have our student handbook. And so this provides some specific information about what are the responsibilities and some of our school-based policies and procedures. And so if you're a family that wants to know kind of, hey, what are some of the school rules? You can kind of take a look at this. I am going to highlight specifically the, let me come over here. I'm going to highlight specifically the idea of our cell phone policy. So let me move here to cell phone. I'll go one more slide. So the handbook says the following. Cell phone, safest place for your child's cell phone is at home. Now, most middle schoolers will tell you that if they don't have a cell phone, that they're the only child on the planet without a cell phone. That's not true, but I would say a large proportion of our students do have cell phones. And they are the bane of parents' existence. And so, I've got kids as well, and so we're often battling. My 9th grader feels like he's the only child that still doesn't have social media. And I'm, well, tough. It's like, sorry, social media does far more harm than it does good. Yeah. Thank you. So, yeah. Now, with all that being said, here's how we way, because not every parent feels the same as I do, and there's many families that feel like, hey, I need to be able to get hold of my child at any and every time, and if there's an emergency. And so we want to balance both personal privacy and family communication with learning. So we have, ideally, cell phones are safe at home, but recognizing that many kids bring them, cell phones, smartwatches, and electronics, which include their AirPods and their earbuds, must remain off and out of sight during the school day, which includes passing time. So there's instructional time in the classes and there's passing time. We really shouldn't see those cell phones, right? And if we do, teachers will simply put their hand out and say, and the students will go, oh, and the cell phone will then get turned into the office where we keep track of whether it's their first, second, or third violation. And they can either get it returned at the end of the day, returned to their family, or when we see repeat offenders many times, we start to say, your phone is really not welcome at the school anymore. And we partner with families in that regard. Now, students may appropriately use their cell phone before school, after school, and during lunch. So kids start coming in about 7:15 in the morning when we open up. Buses start coming in. We're playing some music in the cafe. We have announcements up on the screen behind you. And a lot of kids may have their phone out. Some of them will have their computer up and playing games that they can try to navigate to. They're really mad that they can no longer get to cool math games. Mr. Steer, how come you closed down cool math games? I didn't do that, but I do tell them it's like, because there's no math in cool math games. But I also know that for many students, social, like phones and games are a way that some students will socialize. And so it's a really tricky balance. But as a school, we work to really encourage at lunch. We call them Tech-Free Tuesdays, where you put out board games, put out the ping pong table. We really encourage kids to go out and run around after they eat. But a lot of students will be using their device at school, school lunch, but often away during the school day, and that really means during instructional time. So I personally would like to see us reduce even the lunchtime piece. I don't know if we're really going to be able to do that, but we continue to work to both encourage kids and educate parents on how you are managing your child's device. And if your child has a cell phone and you just gave it to them for their birthday and you're never looking at it, you're doing something wrong. So, oh wait, this is my phone. No, it's not. You gave it to them. You pay for, you should be looking at it. And especially around social media, you want to help encourage them to be digital citizens. Question? So the school, the smartwatches is a tricky one. We see more and more of that. In general, the smartwatches aren't dinging or buzzing or things like that. And most kids are darn smart about keeping everything silenced, right? But they'll be texting in their hoodies. They'll be getting texts on their phone. It might be from mom. It could be from someone else. Hey, let's meet in the bathroom in the middle of fourth period, right? So smartwatches is a tricky one. We've added it on here. We don't police it a ton, but certainly in some instances, if we see a kid and it's like, oh, they're getting texts and things like that, we will do the same thing. We'll say, hey, please give me your Apple Watch. You can pick it up in the office. It's trickier. Same with earbuds. They'll put their hoodie up and they want to kind of be looking like this, and they got one earbud in and they pretend like they're paying attention, but their mind is totally not off. So being a teacher in the 21st century with technology, it's challenging. And being a parent is challenging too. You got to be engaged with your kids, have conversations, ask them about what's going on, show me what's through your feed. And there's this fine line between how and when do I give them some of these applications and where do I protect them? Question? Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So the question from this parent is saying, as you move to middle school and high school, and you have 7 different classes with each teacher using some slightly different online applications, that becomes really ripe for a kid to be able to like pull a fast one on the parent, or even be confused. And then the parents are like 5 times as confused of what the heck is going on. I'd like to say that that is not going to happen here, but that would be a lie. And so, but what we recognize as staff is that one of our important parts is communicating. We want to, as much as possible, streamline what we do. And we do something where in every teacher's signature line in their email, there's a click to their homepage, which describes, do I accept late work? How do I turn assignments in? And so everything isn't the same, but we have tried to say, where can I, how do I manage things? And so, but with some parent education and some of the events that we will try to do in the fall, where we invite parents and their kids to even come and like, let's walk through your OneNote together. How parents, are you on Synergy Parent View? Have you checked the attendance notifications to get automatically sent to your phone when your kid has skipped a class or is absent and you didn't think they were? So we don't have it perfect, but we do try to continue to do some hand holding. And as kids get to high school, it then becomes even a little bit more hands off. Really good question. And it's ways that we're continuing to try to improve, but there will definitely be times for families where you're like, I don't know how to help you because you don't even know what's going on. And I don't know what's going on. So it's tough. And because technology is here and our computers, all our students have one-to-one computers and all that stuff. So really good question. All right, there was a question about some of the budget impacts affecting Tillicum. So when will we know what teachers and staff are returning, which have been cut? How are we going to maintain a level of education with less? And what's our plan for behavioral supports? With our budget challenges, and basically Bellevue School District has been spending more money than we've been getting for about the last 8 or 9 years. We've been able to hide that with COVID money coming in and the establishment of great mental health supports. Cut those when the money went away. Well, we're in a pretty big budget hole, right? And we're going to end the year with a negative fund balance. And it's not good form to have less coming in than going out. So in this coming year, we tried to save money this year, but by and large, it's actually the staff that you hire that ends up being your biggest expense. So we have increased staffing ratios a little bit. And that means that instead of dividing by 21, for a teacher, I divide now by 23.5. And so next year, what that means is that every class you could expect to be on average about 2 kids more. Now that's not going to be even. Some classes will be 8 kids more just because of how the master schedule gets made. And some classes might still be small. Like for example, my 7th grade Spanish classes, I had 46 kids. 46 is a terrible divisor. I can't put 46 into one class. So I made 2 classes of 23. That's going to be great. In another place, it's like, the divisor was such that I have 35 kids in a science class. Not ideal, but it's kind of what we're having to do. And so my teachers know this. We're working in ways to be able to continue to provide high-level supports and instruction for students. But there will be some slightly larger classes. In our main office, we've lost some supports. Our PBIS, positive behavior interventions, is moving back into the classroom. So that will mean a little bit more time for me to work one-on-one with kids and our assistant principal. We're losing a little bit of front office staff and support. But we just spent some time this last week redistributing some of the roles. And yeah, we're going to continue to love on your kids. There'll be more of them to love and less of us. But in particular, we know that students' mental health and behavioral challenges are different than they were 15 years ago. COVID, cell phones, all that makes it it's more complicated to be a kid than it was when we were growing up. And so we have some plans. We'll have a certificated PBIS team that's going to be working on trying to do some of the positive behavioral interventions and supports. And we're going to kind of come together a little bit more collectively. We won't be able to run the same level that we did this year. What Ms. Haverstick has done as our PBIS interventionist the last 3 years, really positive, proactive. She created a great environment here. We'll work to replicate that, but we'll miss some of it. And so we'll also partner with our families. And so when I think about some of our lunch opportunities and things, I think there's opportunities where families who want to be involved can come. Maybe at lunchtime, we'll create a walkabout program. You want to come once or twice a month at lunch? Come just walk around, say hi to kids. Hey, thanks for putting that into the garbage. They're great ways for you to come and watch creatures in their natural habitat. It's like going to the zoo, but it's in a supportive way. So we do have some budget impacts. Good news is that we think that this is probably just for a year, maybe 2, because the governor signed some legislation that's going to allow us to, 1, sell a piece of property on the backside of Somerset that will help replenish our fund balance. We also, they removed the levy lid that kept districts like Bellevue and Mercer Island and Seattle from being able to collect the full amount that voters said that they would be willing to contribute. So this is a short-term pinch, just like it was in 2007, 2008. We're going to get our district right-sized. We'll be a little skeletal, but we'll keep providing awesome love, care, and concern for your kids. All right, where are we? We're a little bit after 10 right now. My next meeting is actually with my PTA president. So she's good. So what I'm going to do is that kind of concluded all of the formal questions. For those of you who may need to leave, or if you're online, feel free to head. I really appreciate y'all being here. But I'm happy to take just a couple of, like, if you happen to have questions, either here in the audience or online, feel free to drop into the chat. I see Kylie, and then, yeah, comment. Yeah, so Kylie is mentioning the idea of tutorial. And so that's a little bit foreign because we don't have tutorial at the elementary school. But the school day starts at 7:45 and it ends at 2:35, at which point kids can leave, walk home, get on the school bus. They can also optionally stay for tutorial, which runs from 3:05. It's a half an hour time of the day where kids can choose to go to one of their teachers. Every teacher is in their classroom and is available to help kids, right? And since a large chunk of kids do either get on the bus or go home, you end up having tutorial period with maybe only 5 or 8 kids that came to the class. It's time to maybe make up a quiz or a test to get some extra help. And so tutorial happens every day from Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, not on Wednesdays. And then when tutorial finishes at 3:05, that's when we have an hour where we have student activities, maybe sports with Jubilee, clubs like Culture Chef Club or Spanish Reading Club, different sort of clubs. And so there's an opportunity for kids to be involved. And then at 4 o'clock, that's when we have the activity buses come. So buses at 2:35, another bus at 4 o'clock. So those are the kind of times when kids could get home. Great question about tutorial. Another question. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so the question is, as we lose some of our staff, in particular our PBIS interventionists who helps kids with both some social, emotional, and low level, like behavioral and relationship challenges, with that person gone, where do they reach out for support? And the answer is going to be that we're going to encourage kids, again, to solve problems at the closest point of implementation. If something is challenging them in a class, we would want their teacher to know. If something is challenged relationally that maybe is happening at lunch or other times, school counselor is a good point of view. And if someone is being bullied or harassed and they're struggling with that sort of experience, our assistant principal, Miss Barut Del Fiero, as well as myself, will be in those roles. So we will still cover and support kids. We're just kind of losing one of our people that really helps at that lower level and helps with a lot of the proactive pieces. But we'll definitely still be telling kids how that they can and should share with family, because sometimes families will let us know, or share with the staff that is present in the place. Did that answer your question? Teacher, especially if it's happening in a classroom. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Well, again, thank you all for coming. I welcome you to Tillicum. It was fun to have. I think we had like almost 40 people online. We had about another 20 people here. This is a great showing. So welcome to all of you 6th grade families, and we look forward to getting to see you and know you in person. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and stop recording. Hope you all have a great Friday and a wonderful weekend.